Good morning, Fairbanks. You are listening to KFAR Radio. We're at 660 on the AM dial and 97.5 on the FM dial. And we also live stream at KFARradio.com. This is KFAR Radio Problem Corner, and I am your host, David Pruhs. My format is as usual. On Mondays, it's business and economics that affect Fairbanks and the state of Alaska. Tuesday's my day of politics, so my guest will be based around that. Wednesday, my guest is an interesting Fairbanksan pioneer, local legend, maybe even a nefarious character. Friday is all about Fairbanks, what we get to do over the weekend, those opportunities that are afforded to us, those things that make Fairbanks special. My job is to introduce this world, this planet, to the wonderful world of Fairbanks, give everyone that Fairbanks fix we need once in a while. I'll try to get to your phone calls, but sometimes our conversations just don't stop. But please be patient. I will get to them. You can reach us at 458-TALK, 458-8255. And with that, today's a Tuesday, a day of politics, and I have in the studio with me the presiding officer of the Fairbanks and North Star Borough Assembly, Christopher Quist, who is running for State House District 1. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, David. Thank you for having me here today.
There's a lot of salutations I had to give you there. Presiding officer of Fairbanks and North Star Borough. You've been doing that 6 years now.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a pleasure and an education.
Goes by fast.
Mm-hmm.
You're from Fairbanks?
Yes, born and raised here. Went to Wood River and to Ryan Junior High in West Valley, and then to UAF for a bit before going out to the East Coast, Columbia University.
Wow. And you're up at KUAC now working?
Yes, I've been at KUAC for the last 11 years now, currently the FM operations manager. And I love radio. And
so are you critiquing me?
Oh, there's not a lot to critique here, David. You're a real professional. So
thank you.
I've enjoyed.
You politician, you.
I enjoy coming on your show. It's been this is, I think, the third opportunity I've had, and looking forward to doing it again. And
you got it. Yeah.
I think this is a great format. I mean, I grew up listening to Problem Corner. And I think it's great that it's still around.
You know, you've been on the Borough Assembly 6 years. Boy, you know, that's longer than people are in college. Well, maybe except for myself. But you've seen a lot. You've done a lot. You've been involved in a lot. Yes,
we've had lots of interesting problems and projects over the last 6 years, from how we fund just our year after year budgets, how we take care of our aging infrastructure, how we fund education, how we deal with zoning conflicts, how we foster and make sure that a new industry like the legal cannabis industry is able to thrive and grow, but also we protect the rights of our neighbors and the character of our neighborhoods.
That, man, you know, we both came out at the same time within a year. There that was.
Yes, that was an interesting time for sure.
Yeah, and who would have thought that? Mm-hmm. You know, 6 years on the Borough Assembly, you've seen a lot of things. You've done a lot of budgets.
Yes.
Boy, and now you're the presiding officer. Mm-hmm. What does that entail?
Briefly, the presiding officer represents the assembly in any kind of official forum. If the Assembly's taken an official position on something in terms of a resolution, you know, the presiding officer could represent the Assembly in that way. The presiding officer runs the meetings and sets the agenda, and
you put what's on the call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so the most visible component of what the presiding officer does is to run the meeting and to run meetings in a fair way, and to a certain extent, or to a large extent, to be above the debate.
Yeah.
Just to you're
the moderator,
and obviously you still get to vote, mm-hmm. but to have an even hand. I mean, when you have the gavel, with great power comes great responsibility. So you have to make sure that everybody's following the rules and everybody gets their fair shot at speaking, and so
parliamentary procedure is
exactly.
followed.
But we have a real professional operation over there with the borough clerks.
Exceptional people.
They keep us online. They help us do a really good job so that we can serve the community, and it's been it's been a pleasure and a very special privilege to be able to serve in that capacity.
As we're talking about before we came online, your meetings, the time frame that you contribute is extraordinary.
Yeah, they can definitely be some marathon sessions sometimes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we throw the rules out too, and then there's no end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but typically our meetings, they start at 6, and then we're on the air around 7, or at 7, and then we go until 11:30 if we need to, or longer sometimes.
Suspend the rules. Yeah.
And there's just a lot to do at the borough. It's a pretty big organization, and we have a lot of business to take care of.
And then, right around the first of the year, you're starting to look at budgets and preliminary budgets.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into May, if not April, and weekends.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the administration's any day now, they're starting on the next budget cycle. And then in the spring, the new assembly and as finance committee will take that on. And there's a series of work sessions at 2 or 3 Saturdays or full days where we go through that budget line by line. And
boy, would I be irritable after that.
Sure, yeah.
That's just me.
And the department heads come down and talk about any changes, and then we look at every line in that budget book and look for small ways and big ways to save and be more efficient.
Boy, and it's never over. Then it's next up.
Yes.
It's always next up. There's always something else. What I always say to people, it doesn't matter if I disagreed with you today. There'll be something tomorrow I'll probably agree with you with.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, we have to work together, and I mean that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the assembly, and something that I think that I would be in as an attitude be bringing to state government is that at the assembly we're nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. So, and there's 9 of us, and we all work together for the betterment of everybody here that lives and works in the borough. And although we might be ideologically or politically different, diverse, polarized even at times, we still are all working together in good faith to reach the best possible product and service that we can.
With a consensus.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting the differences that people can have, yet 70 to 90% of the time they're still agreeing with just about everything.
And we have much more in common, and we have common values, and we have different ideas about how those should be implemented. And it's typically we're competing with like 2 positive things. Like somebody thinks this is good, and somebody thinks this is even better. And it's what's the right thing for our community, and we can disagree without being disagreeable, and work to make life better for everybody here.
True. Fairbanks, we are going to take a commercial break. You're listening to KFAR Radio. I have Christopher Quist. He is the presiding officer of the Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly, running for State House District 1. He's in a primary challenge. If you have a question or want to call into Christopher and ask him a question, we are at 458-TALK, 458-8255. And we'll be back after these commercials.
And now, more Problem Corner on KFAR Radio, 97.5 FM, 660 AM, and streaming live at KFARradio.com.
Welcome back, Fairbanks. In the studio here with Christopher Quist, candidate, House District 1, and he's the presiding officer of the Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly. And Christopher, operating a meeting in today's environment with Zoom cannot be easy.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and ultimately, we're all looking forward to going back to the days where we're meeting in person and being able to look at each other in the face. And I mean, we do
say yo.
Yeah, we do a lot better work when we're in the same room together. But we've adapted, I think, fairly well to the remote meetings, and with no shortage of help from the clerk's office that have really put this together. But I do think that we suffer as a result in that it's harder to just work together when you're distant, and it's easier, I think, to this may be like too strong a word, but I'll use it anyways, dehumanize our fellow assembly folk when you're not in the same place with them, or you're not seeing them.
You don't have that personal interaction.
And so, a lot of us will have our cameras on. Some of us can't have the camera on for technical reasons, or, you're on your Borough iPad and then you want to go read a constituent email and you switch away from the app and you're still connected, but, your camera's gone. So
you're multitasking.
And so we've gone back and forth between our regular meetings, completely like 100% Zoom, and like a hybrid meeting where some of us were present and we were able to allow folks from the public to come in and testify in person, which I thought was very valuable. But we're completely Zoom based right now. I've asked the clerk's office, and they're working on a plan on how we can have the 13 of us that are very essential to the operation of the meetings, like the 9 assembly members, 2 folks from the clerks, the chief of staff, and the attorney, to be able to be in the same room. So we'll have like fish bowls or aquariums or something, and then maybe we could also have folks from the public coming in, one at a time or something. And I think that hopefully we'll be able to make that switch soon, because the unfortunate reality is we're going to have to be accommodating to the pandemic for likely some time, and the sooner we can get back to business as usual, or something that resembles business as usual, the better.
We have a phone call. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Good morning. You're on KFAR Radio, and your name is?
Randy.
Hello, Randy. How are you doing?
Good. Mr. Quist, I believe that you were the prime sponsor of a borough ordinance that removed any religious reference or any reference to God in the invocation that they have at the start of the meeting. And I was wondering, if you get elected and become a representative down in Juneau, would you consider introducing a bill that would remove any reference to God in any invocation that they conduct down there?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Randy. So at the borough, you're correct. I did sponsor an ordinance that was defeated some years ago now that would have explicitly changed the character of the non-sectarian invocation such that it could not be used for overt sectarian religious language. And the reason for doing that was out of desire to be inclusive and to not make it so that people felt like they might not be welcome at the meeting. The non-sectarian invocation at the borough is interesting in a couple of ways. One, it's typically only consumed by people, who are at the borough meetings early on, which is people that are either participating in the meeting or are very excited about local government. So it doesn't have a real big audience. And these days, as the presiding officer, I'm the one that gets to write and read the non-sectarian invocation, and I draw on a wide variety of sources. So
has anyone ever complained about your non-sectarian?
I have not had any complaints, but I welcome complaints or criticisms. But this coming week, I draw on multiple sources from the Christian tradition. I have a couple of. I could read them now. I'll tune in Thursday at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. rather. So I think that we need to respect our traditions and be as inclusive as possible at the same time. At the state level, I'd have to look at the particulars. I think that it's important that we maintain a separation of church and state.
Randy, thanks for the call. Thanks, buddy. Well, that segues us into you running for State House. How did that come about? And first of all, perfect timing. 6 years, 6 good years, successful years on the Borough Assembly, and you're segueing now looking for another office.
Yeah, so it came about. I've considered it in the past very briefly, but just assumed that Catherine Dodge would be taking another swing at it, since I mean, she was
lost by one vote.
Lost by literally one vote, which turned out to even be a coin flip. I mean, it was as close as it can get. So I thought that Catherine was going to be going for it, and so I didn't, give it serious thought until Mindy O'Neill and Scott Kawasaki approached me and asked me to consider running. And I thought about it. I thought about my experience and my skills. And I felt like I was an appropriate fit. And I reached out to Catherine to confirm that was didn't want to step on her toes.
You paid your respect to Catherine.
And
good for you.
And decided to throw my hat in the ring. And I think that I'm a good fit. Actually, I mean, I strongly believe that I'm the best candidate for the job at this time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in this race.
Exactly. What's it like? Instead of running for a borough-wide office, you're in a confined unit. Must be nicer, I would think.
It's different in a lot of ways. Yeah, I mean, geographically much more constrained. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, that would make things a lot more convenient, in terms of like door knocking and
Have you knocked on a door yet?
No, I haven't knocked on any doors. I've been making phone calls.
I was going to say, how would that be?
And I mean, I think that there maybe is a way to do it. It's just, it's not something that we're doing in the campaign at this time. And you just playing it real safe and reaching out to people, on the phone or through the mail. And, so it's different in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm excited about the opportunity to serve in a full-time capacity. And so at the borough, we work hard, but, we're all doing something else. Like, at City Council, David, you work hard there, but you're also
doing something else.
You're doing something else. So like 2 years ago when I ran for borough mayor, that was largely motivated by my interest to be more effective and be able to serve more. And so I'm, although this is, like a seasonal job, so to speak, in
part-time,
part-time, I do very much so intend to serve in a full-time capacity.
Ready for a phone call?
Sure.
Good morning. You're on KFAR Radio with Christopher Quist, and your name is?
My name is Sean.
Hello, Sean.
I'm just curious, your views would you consider them more liberal or more conservative?
In a word, Sean, liberal, but I guess I would just state that I'm not monolithic in my ideology, and actually...
Do you consider yourself conservative?
So, in a word, no, but that's not a nuanced statement. So, I do have some ideas that are traditionally conservative, and I have some ideas that are traditionally liberal, and I don't have any ideas just because they're liberal. Like I have reasons for my beliefs and whatever, and I'm open-minded. So if there's a compelling reason to change my mind, I'll adopt that new idea regardless if it's conservative or liberal, as long as it's the best idea.
The reason I'm asking is because most people, they just want straightforward answers, and you get so much disheartening, untrue...
You're putting one group and...
ads push, you get negative and positive ads about you, and a lot of them they don't really tell anybody the truth. A straight-up answer of how do you feel about burning wood in the borough? I mean, that's going to justify to a lot of people whether or not they want to vote for you. How do you feel about burning wood in the borough?
Okay, so I've got an answer for you, and you can tell me if it's straight up enough at the end, but it's not going to be just one word. So I think that biomass, burning wood, is going to be part of our energy economy in the borough indefinitely. It makes a lot of sense for a lot of people in a lot of ways, and that needs to be protected. That being said, we need to be burning wood in a responsible way. And we need to be helping people to burn wood in a responsible way. We have a serious air quality problem in this borough, and the primary source of that air quality issue is from home heating due to wood burning. So I could say a lot more on that, but maybe...
i.e., if you're going to do it right.
That's pretty much to the point. I appreciate that. There's a lot of things that nobody's ever considered. For a long time in the borough, we had the emissions program.
Yes.
where we were all required to go get our vehicle tested.
Sean, we got about 45 seconds left, Betty, before we go.
Well, I came up here in the military, and one of the things that I noticed that blew me away, that I thought was very unfair, was that none of the military vehicles have any emissions or ever have.
Yeah. So
How is that a do as I say, not as I do?
So
how is that fair to the American people when the government gets to do whatever they want?
Yeah. So
and aren't held to the same standards?
Sean, I mean, we should have the standards that are standard for everybody. And I can't speak to the emissions issue with military vehicles at the moment. I'd have to learn more about that. But like the emissions problem that we used to have in the borough, I think part of the solution here for our air quality problem now is the same. It's a technological solution. So we solved that problem by making our cars more efficient, and we got rid of carbon monoxide that way. We can look to technologies like electrostatic precipitation to help clean up wood smoke.
Sean, thank you for the phone call, buddy. We got to go on to the Fox News, some state news, some commercials, some weather, and we'll be back with Christopher Quist after these messages.
And now, more Problem Corner on KFAR Radio, 97.5 FM, 660 AM, and streaming live at KFARradio.com.
Welcome back, Fairbanks. David Pruhs in the studio here with Christopher Quist. He's a candidate running for State House District 1. How's that adventure going for you so far?
It's been really exciting.
You know, whenever I see a new candidate, I just say, enjoy the journey.
Yes.
It's tiring. Just enjoy it.
Well, and that's what you have to do. So, I mean, instead of looking at a lot of these things in the campaign as necessary evils, you know, like even the worst part of any campaign, which is fundraising, instead of looking at that as, okay, I have to do this terrible thing, I look at it as an opportunity to engage with folks in the district and to talk to people about what's important to them. And that's exciting. So, I mean, if you like people, it's not that bad.
There you go. You know, state of Alaska, from when they adjourned to right now, the state budget, the price per barrel of oil went from about 60 down to 35. It's always about a budget one way or another. What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of things, but it would be really good if we could, to our best ability, decouple the price of oil from our budget in the long term immediately. So I see, and from the forecast, I see the price of oil recovering before too long. I mean, typically these kinds of price wars last somewhere between a year and a half, and so sometime in 2021, and we can probably expect that to be coming back up. We need to reform our oil and gas tax structure. I am a supporter of Proposition 1. I think that it would do a lot to undo the damage of SB 21. I think it would do a lot to help protect the PFD. I think it would do a lot to help close our budget gap. And on the low end of the estimates that I've read from the revenues that would be generated by passing Prop 1 would be something like $700 million annually. I mean, that's significant. I mean, that's more than Dunleavy's cuts. And I think that on the high end, it's been estimated to be something like $1.2 billion. So that would be significant. I think we need to do that. I think it's also time to once again look to a broad-based tax for Alaskans. You know, we used to have such a tax, and I think that it would do a lot to get people more involved with government, and would also help close our budget gaps. Whatever that kind of tax is, though, I think it's very important that it's a progressive tax, so that Alaskans who earn more are paying a higher percentage than Alaskans that earn less. And so I'm agnostic as to what that particular tax is. There are several proposals out there, and but whatever it is, it needs to be a fair and progressive one.
Do you think the governor's done a good job with basically a pandemic, COVID-19?
So early on, I had a much more favorable opinion, because Governor Dunleavy seemed to be coming out in a strong way to fight the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And I think that a number of those mandates early on, I think, were very effective. Now, I have a much less favorable opinion, because I think that especially in a second-class borough like the Fairbanks North Star borough, where we don't have the power at the borough level to have something like, let's say, like a mask mandate, that would be the kind of leadership that I think the governor could provide. And you say, and I think this will be in line with the governor's position that I've heard in the press conferences. He's reluctant to issue any kind of statewide mandate because we have a diverse state in a lot of ways, and maybe a mandate for every single community doesn't make sense. But on a case-by-case basis, especially when you have communities that are asking for a mandate like this, I think that it would make a lot of sense. It would also address the concern at the city level where Mayor Matherly says he doesn't want to exercise that power because it would, it's a municipality within a municipality and would be confusing and maybe unfair to city businesses or residents. But so these are problems that could be solved at the state level, looking at municipalities that want these kinds of mandates.
The COVID has put us into areas we'd never thought would be, and education right now.
Yeah.
Are they having in-school sessions? Are they not? We're learning as we go.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's also part of the plan at the school district is to have a plan that can adapt and evolve to the situation on the ground. So as we take things more seriously, as we have more precautions, and we can see those numbers go down, then the school district is able to respond and open things up more. Or if the trend increases in a way that we're having more cases, that they can tighten things up. And I think that's appropriate, and we should have policy that's based on facts.
You're running for state house, a large amount of things, and I just thought of one here. The governor is suing the federal game board for shutting down areas and saying it's only good for federal subsistence. Have you followed that at all?
Not closely. Again,
it's a wide variety of things, and it happens on all of a sudden, boom, they're shutting down something, boom, we're suing someone. Just a thought.
Yeah, so I can't speak to it in detail, but I think a couple of things in general on that issue. I do think that the state, as appropriate, should be flexing its muscles and defending its rights from federal overreach. I think that we need to also have a game policy that serves all Alaskans, in that people that are consumptive users that want to go out and be hunting, people that are non-consumptive users that want to go out and just experience nature and have a tourism industry that can thrive because we have wildlife populations. I think the views of subsistence communities and all stakeholders need to be taken into account, and we should have policy that works for all Alaskans and that is an Alaskan policy and not driven entirely from the federal level.
Okay. Fairbanks, we are going to take a commercial break. We have Christopher Quist running for State House District 1 in the studio with me. We are at 458-TALK, 458-8255, and we'll be back after these messages.
And now, more Problem Corner on KFAR Radio 97.5 FM, 660 AM, and streaming live at KFARradio.com.
Welcome back, Fairbanks. David Pruhs in the studio here with Christopher Quist, running for State House District 1. If you have a question you'd like to ask him, we're at 458-TALK, 458-8255. Now, Christopher, you are running for a state race in a district versus a borough, and you're running during a pandemic.
Yeah. Interesting.
People just don't get to say, hey, I ran for a state office during a pandemic, but you're doing it.
Yeah, well, it's an important time, I think, to step up and serve. There are a number of crises that we're facing at the state level is, a large reason why I'm running, because I feel that I'm well equipped to help. And like you said, it is different than the borough race. Not only is it a geographically constrained area, you're not
Different items.
Yeah, not serving at large, but also totally different scope of government.
A district within a whole.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'll in January be making decisions to help the people of District 1, but also making decisions on behalf of the entire state, because I mean the decisions we make in Juneau are statewide, and so that is a significant difference. But the things that are the same is talking to people and hearing their concerns, and it's interesting in that when you really focus on District 1, you talk to the people here in the district. Some of the things are the same, and some of the more important things are the same. But a lot of the things are different than what overall in the whole borough, or So in my day job, I've been at the university for almost 11 years, and some of the people at the university, they're District 1 residents, but a lot of them are living out of town, and they have different concerns than a lot of the folks that live and work downtown. And so it's different in that regard too. And this pandemic has really, really changed just the way you would normally run a campaign in terms of outreach and events and knocking on doors. It's really different. But I think that we've got a good plan, and we've been reaching out through all the other channels and connecting with folks and talking about what their vision is for the future of the state.
Next Tuesday, you have a primary vote.
Yes.
You either pass and move on, or you don't.
Yeah.
But, this is what I tell people when you're a candidate. You can raise more money. You can talk to more people or shake more hands or put more lit drops in. But you never get to make up the time until that vote day.
Yeah.
It goes by fast, doesn't it?
Yes, very quickly.
How long have you been involved in this now?
Well, so it was February when Scott and Mindy first asked me to consider. And it wasn't until...
So you're in I'm counting. Fairbanks, you can see it. I'm counting on my fingers.
Yes.
You're in the 7 months so far.
Yeah, but it wasn't until May that I got the green light from Catherine that she was definitely not going to be running. And wanting to defer to her to, give her another opportunity to run. So that's when I officially threw my hat in the ring. And
there you go.
It's an exciting process, and it's great to be out there. And this is a primary election, and I think that a primary can be a good thing in that it brings in more people and it gives people a choice, and that's really important. And it sharpens up the candidates for the general election. And,
exactly. And it gives you the round. You're going by rounds. You're going by rounds. I've not talked to Benny. I've offered this show to him. I've not heard back from him yet. But again, the days are going by. Mm-hmm. You have a week.
Yep. And so we are not wasting any time and taking every opportunity that we can. And really, when it comes down to it, voters know what's important for them. They know what's important for their family, and they're going to go out there and they're going to, hopefully be voting in their best interest. And all we can do in the campaign is put our best foot forward, and then you leave it up to folks to decide. And it is what it is. And so, like you said, either after Tuesday, we're advancing to the general, or the community has decided to take things in a different direction, and that's just fine. So, I can control.
You can only control what you can control. I can control
what I can control, and aside from that, that's it. And I think that, like I said, earlier, I wouldn't be in this race if I didn't genuinely believe that I was the best candidate at this time.
How many votes do you think you need? How many votes do you think that the winner needs in a primary in District 1 to win? So
there's probably going to be a total of about 2,500 votes cast. About 1,500 of those are going to be in the Republican primary, though. So in the non-Republican primary,
1,000 votes.
About 1,000 votes. It could be less. It could be 800. It could be more. It could maybe be 1,500. That would be like really surprising, though. So we need somewhere between 350 and 800 votes. You know, about like, and that's a pretty broad range. But you know, realistically, you know, we need 600 votes, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, we've got a lot of votes that have already been cast. You know, people are voting early. People are voting by mail, and that'll be a big part of it too. So hopefully, you know, I mean, we're running hard. We've gotten some great endorsements already from the Central Labor Council, from Planned Parenthood Votes Northwest and Hawaii, from Operating Engineers Local 302, and I think that we've got some good momentum and energy in the campaign, and I mean, I'd very much so like to see that we win by a margin that's decisive enough that we know on the primary day that's going on. We can take that energy into the next election cycle, and I think we stand a real chance of flipping this district and making some.
You wouldn't be running if you didn't think that.
Absolutely not. Yeah, and you know, I genuinely want the best for the state and for the district, and you know, regardless of the outcome of this election, I'll still be fighting that fight. Any
big plans for the next week, or any thoughts?
We don't have any more in-person events. There have been so few of those opportunities. I mean, we did participate basically in everything that we could, and you know, as safely as we could. But we do have, you know, a few you know, social media engagements, and I'll be doing I guess it's kind of like this radio show, but the social media version of it, you know, doing like an AMA, kind of ask me anything thing. So we'll be getting out there and you know, trying to, you know, hear more from people and what's on their mind. And you know, when you know this, David, when you're in government, it's, you know, it's two things. I mean, you have your own convictions, your own personal ideals of what you think is important, and why you're doing that job in the first place. But like I was telling you earlier when we're talking about the borough, and you know, when you're in elected office, to a certain extent, you're public property. Like, people need to have access to you. People need to be able to voice their concerns, and you need to be able to represent those concerns and address those. And that might not always be exactly what you would want if you had it your way. And I think that being able to listen to people and understand people is a really important part of the job, and something that I think that I have a natural proclivity towards, and something over the last several years is that I've sharpened up quite a bit.
Good for you. You know, there's thinking about it here. I think, you know, well, in District 2, you have a Republican primary. And my thought was there, similar to what you just said, whoever gets 500 votes wins. But what I'm thinking about doing is, you know, I've been waiting I have next Monday open. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you and Benny and then Steve Thompson and Dave Sale, you know, a call-in time, you know, 15 minutes, you know, the segments that we just went, you know, 4 segments, because I'm a townie. I'm from Fairbanks. I was born and raised here. I'm a townie, you know, and we got 2 primaries. And, you know, we don't get that often in Fairbanks. Usually it's you know, the incumbent versus one person from the other side. Now we have incumbents with primaries. We have primaries without incumbents wanting to do some whoop butt on the incumbent. This is great.
It's very exciting.
This is great. So I was really happy you could be in here. So I'm just thinking about that, you know, next Monday. Your opponent has not ventured to, and again, days are running out. So I will give everyone in District 1 and 2, you know, 10 minutes. That's what I'm going to try and do anyway. So make yourself available. We'll figure out.
That sounds good.
Like you did
Thank
this
you,
time.
David.
Yeah. You gave you a call 2 weeks out, put it on your schedule, do it right. And I was thinking about that. So, but man, a primary with multiple, you know, Senate seat B, District 6.
Yep, a lot of people in that race.
District 5, an incumbent on the Democrat side. You have an incumbent on the Republican side. You have an incumbent on the Republican side. You have 2 Democrats, non-incumbent. Next Tuesday is going to be a really neat primary day. I mean, we just don't get this, but also at the same time, you can see that both the Democratic and the Republican and independents, there's people who want to change other than what's gone on down there in the past. You can see that just by the amount of people who are running.
Yeah, I think that there's demand for real change, and that's a sentiment that I hear all the time. I think that's why people are so engaged right now.
Ready for a phone call?
Sure.
Good morning. You're on KFAR Radio with Christopher Quist, and your name is?
My name is Jim Joy.
Hello.
Howdy. Listen, I apologize if I'm covering old ground here. I haven't heard the entire show. I'd just like to ask your guest, do you support the Black Lives Matter communist socialist organization?
So, I am not very familiar with the organization, so to speak. But, yes, I am supportive of the movement. I drafted and was the sponsor of a resolution at the Borough Assembly, which, with some very careful discussion and amendment, was adopted unanimously by the Assembly. That resolution spoke in favor of civil rights and equality for all Alaskans and was supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement. And as to that being a communist effort, that's not my understanding, and I'm not in the business of supporting communism.
What is your understanding?
So my understanding is that this country has a legacy of racism that's baked into our society. And for the last 400 years, primarily black people and other minorities have been exploited and oppressed by this system. And it's manifest very recently and continues to be manifest in the form of police brutality. And so that is an effort speaking out against that and demanding reform to an unjust system.
Thank you for your phone call. Appreciate it. Christopher, we have about 1 minute left as we wrap up. And how would you like to wrap it up, sir?
Well, I just want to say this is an important election. I think it's an important primary, and I'm not saying that solely for self-serving reasons. Get out there and vote. Get out and vote on Tuesday, or vote right now. Early voting is open. You can go down to the state building and cast your ballot today. All you need is your ID. And you can, and then also in November, please vote, stay engaged. Like you were saying earlier, David, there's a lot of people running. There's a lot of people running because this is a particularly important time in our state's history. And we have the opportunity to take a bad situation and come out of this greater and stronger and more sustainable on the other side. So vote and then stay engaged. It doesn't just end there. Hold your elected officials accountable. And if people want to engage with me or the campaign, quistforhouse.com. My cell phone number's on the borough website if you want to talk government. And thank you for paying attention and working to make this state a great place to live.
Christopher, thank you very much for coming on the air with me. And again, next Monday, I'll get you on the air for about 10 minutes in a segment there. You did great today. Really appreciate it. Lots of people called in. And again, good luck with your endeavor. And thank you for the 6 years you've served on the Borough Assembly. You have a good day, sir.
Thank you, David.